Konstantin Kриволап, aviation expert, is on the line with us. Konstantin, hello, glory to Ukraine.
Greetings, glory to the heroes.
Konstantin, well, I remember how we waited for the F-16. I remember how we waited for the Leopards. Now we have waited for the new Patriots. But the number 17 is interesting here. Firstly, we remember that Trump likes to operate with numbers. He has different numbers, and they change when talking about the same thing. They change several times. Each statement is a different number, but nevertheless the number 17. The Pentagon has not yet given an explanation. 17 is anti-tank missile systems, 17 batteries or 17 launchers. Please explain to us, as you may know, you heard after all, how much and what will we get? And these 17 Patriots, how much do you estimate this, how much or little?
Everything that relates to Patriot is for me. It starts working from the moment it comes to us. Because if we talk about those installations that are about complexes, specifically about complexes, that is, a locator, a diesel generator, 4 to 8 launchers of installations, then this is what we understand as the Patriot anti-aircraft missile system. A battery in NATO's understanding is, as a rule, 6 such complexes, yes, and, accordingly, but each complex can have 4 to 8 launchers. That's the arithmetic. Now, what is 17? I think so, and there are still some nuances and tricks. We are mainly interested in the triots that will shoot down ballistics. Only the PK-3, PAK-3 complex and, accordingly, MCE missiles can shoot down ballistics with the Patriot. But they are capable of shooting down ballistic missiles. Kinzhal, Iskander, KNDAT, and other zircons and everything they thought up about it. Of course, we are interested in, we had this figure, 22 complexes. We formulated this figure in 1922 or early 1923. And this figure, well, was actually close to the number of, our regional centers, which, plus or minus, we, understand how many to protect. We must understand that it covers Patriot, horizontally, well, a 120 degrees sector, yes, therefore, in order to protect some city, 2 or 3 complexes must be installed there, because otherwise it will be, well, not quite a full-fledged defense. But considering that our ballistics come from almost the same direction, then, as a rule, to protect, well, one such object, like, say, a city, Kiev, Dnipro, Zaporozhye, it is enough to put there, most likely, 2, maximum 3 Patriots, yes. So, based on these figures, we came to the figure of 22 to 24 Patriot anti-aircraft missile systems. Accordingly, in our situation, when we are trying to save on radars, and radars are, well, almost 70% of the cost of the complex, then if we want to save on radars, then we want to have 8 launchers on one complex. Thus, when they talk about 17, then I think that Trump was not told everything very clearly here. He remembered only the total figure of 17, but I think that there will be at least 3 complexes, which are yes, there is still a story there. All this must be bought from America. This is not something that America gives us there selflessly or as part of military aid. It all has to be bought. In Europe, there is talk now about 3 anti-aircraft missile systems. It is clear where the money is. This ransom money. Germany and Norway are buying all this equipment with this money. Germany D, Norway 1. And we are talking about the 3rd, that is, the 4th complex. And everything else will most likely be those launchers that can be used to complete the complexes that we have. Well, in this way, we will have somewhere around 9, 10 to 11 complexes. This is already significantly better than what we have now. Well, here it should also be noted that we were counting on Israeli ones, but Israeli complexes that Israel transfers to the States, then modernize them and sells them to us. But this is not working out, because there, the Israelis are writing off the complex of an older modification PAK-2. It is capable of hitting only aerodynamic targets. Very fortunately, but we don't have any particular problems with this. Our main problem is ballistics. Well, that's the situation with the numbers.
Yes. Speaking about other complexes and missiles, you know, some analysts, some media write about the Typhoon complex for launching Tomahawks. But how realistic is this, considering that the United States even allowed the Germans to buy a Tomahawk and deploy it only in 2026, and even then, this complex should only be deployed temporarily. How realistic is this? To get a Tomahawk for Ukraine now.
Well, what's the story with the Tomahawk? When the United States and Russia signed the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, and as a result of this, all the ballistic missiles that were being developed, more than 500 kilometers, they kind of fell into the medium range. And it was an agreement that neither Russia nor the United States deal with these issues, do not deal with development. Then, when Russia finally started secretly making this 26 rupees, which is called either cedar or orishnik, well, it is not clear what, Trump, then in his first presidential term, having learned about this, terminated this agreement. And after that, Russia also terminated this agreement. But at the moment when it was signed, then everything that concerned the medium, or rather, yes, everything that concerned the medium range, and although the Tomahawks were an air-launched missile, not a land-based one, then it was decided that the Tomahawks would remain only sea-based, and everything else would be cut up for scrap metal and destroyed. And, now the Germans are actually putting Tomahawks on ships that are in port. That's it. That's such a somewhat ambiguous situation. What can Tomahawks give us? For us, both Tomahawks are a fairly heavy missile, and the F-16 is not a Mirage. They, well, roughly speaking, cannot handle it, and they do not have the appropriate equipment for this. Tomahawks can only be used if ground launchers are prepared, but they have been destroyed, they must be made in a new way. But, frankly speaking, if we have a sufficient number of JM-158 missiles with a range of 960 kilometers, I think the tasks that we need to solve, well, plus our Ukrainian ballistics, I hope that it will appear there in the foreseeable future. In any case, by the end of this year I hope that we will see something more or less serious in quantities. Then this will be quite enough for us. And I would not insist on Tomahawks as a fundamental solution there. If you give us Tomahawks, then everything is fine. If you do not give them, then you are not our friends. I would not insist so much. I would move towards these things more or less gradually.
Let's add a little more information, because we understand that we receive assistance not only from the United States. Sweden, for example, will also continue to make a significant contribution to the supply of military aid to Ukraine. This was stated by the country's Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson. According to him, Ukraine's allies need to unite as soon as possible to force Russia to stop the war. We will hear.
I welcome the important decision of President Trump on the possibility of supplying more modern weapons to Ukraine and significantly increasing economic pressure on Russia. As one of the largest donors to Ukraine and together with our NATO allies, Sweden will continue to make its contribution to fast and significant supplies to Ukraine. Ulf Kristersson, Prime Minister of Sweden on social media X. Konstantin, well, here I would like to know, how exactly does Sweden help Ukraine? What are we getting from it that is so significant? Yes. And these supplies and the supply of what weapons can really make Putin think about whether it is worthwhile to withdraw troops in disgrace, as from Afghanistan. Sweden supplies us with 70mm missiles there. These are controlled, uncontrolled, what is inserted anti-aircraft portable anti-aircraft systems. And Sweden takes part in the purchases. Sweden transfers part of its weapons. Sweden, in general, all the northern European countries, they help us more than all the rest of Europe, especially the southern part. Well, the northern ones, starting from Britain and then all of Norway, Sweden, Denmark, all of them help, and the Germans, and the Netherlands, and Belgium. This group of countries, they help us very significantly. Who has what they can give with the corresponding views towards the electorate, and maybe the electorate can allow us this or not, trying to somehow close this matter, trying to create some kind of mystery, but these countries understand very well that Ukraine is the conditions of their security. And if you remember, just the other day Havel, the Czech president said that if it is necessary to sacrifice some territories, not recognizing these territories, that are under Russia's jurisdiction, then it is better to do it this way, because it will allow us to stabilize the situation and accumulate resources. But in fact, what is Trump doing now? Trump is forcing Europe not only to express deep experiences and condolences and concerns, but he is forcing them to shell out money. And at the same time, the amount of aid, if you look at it this way, the next program is 10 billion. This is very significant, if they are implemented the way they should be implemented. Well, that is, right now this whole situation looks quite attractive for us. And very attractive for Russia.
Konstantin, thank you very much, for joining our broadcast. Konstantin Kриволап, aviation expert, was on the line with us.
Breaking news, exclusive videos from the front line.
Deep analytical reviews and only the most authoritative speakers. Subscribe to the Freedom YouTube channel to stay up to date with the latest news.